everyone, and welcome. So today, it's done. It is finally done. I feel like Frodo when he came out of Mordor after destroying the one ring that rules them all. This was like more than a trilogy. Okay, that puts that whole like trilogy to shame. What we did with this dragon. I had originally budgeted like 3 streams for it. Yeah. Slight miscalculation right there, right? Oh my gosh, I think it took like 5 or 6 or some kind of crazy amount of streams. Probably, yeah, it's probably 10 streams. Yeah, because I think we only had 2 streams dedicated to other things. So it's pretty bad. But guys, oh no, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Let's take a closer look. I'm gonna go ahead and not even put myself in it. Check this out. So his position is super awkward because he is, off his perch. And I kept a couple, wires on it. And while you guys, behold all the work we've done, I'm going to say hi to my peeps. We got Dave Beck here and Frozen Mustache, the early arrivals. And Dave is saying that the horns here, let me try and do this. I already broke one of his horns. Trying to position him. So we did have some crazy glue type of repairs going on already. But Dave liked our longhorn, bighorn, I'm going to use both words, horns. I think they look rather like the, Maleficent horns from the Disney movie. But, he's multi-horning right now. So the one thing I did forget that I'm totally bummed, but not too bummed because it's salvageable. If you take a real close look at those bighorns, we did not do an acrylic wash. So they look unicolored, one colored. All the details that I carved into those horns are not even visible, So we can fix that. When we put them on the castle and we do the painting of the castle, just remind me to do the acrylic wash on his horns because we're certainly going to be doing that on the castle. So we might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And now also that we don't have that wire that came from this wing and crossed over, we have total access, which is awesome. So the only wires I have are this one right here, which we're going to attach the wizard. Although there is a slight problem, I think, a problem. We'll put him on the castle and figure this out. I think this is way too short. I think by the time we put the wizard on here, and I have to unbend this, like that. He's going to be going straight. I think that's not going to be enough fire and enough energy beam for our wizard, I think. But we'll put him on the castle and we'll see, because at the same time, we don't want the wizard to be all the way out there far away from the castle. We want the castle to be somewhat compact. So I'm just looking at this. I'm thinking it's going to be a hair too short. So I'm thinking of solutions for this. Maybe grabbing another one of these and putting it side by side and soldering it. That's the one thing I saw after I made the dragon armature, is to get the wings to not shift around so much. People actually solder that armature wire. So I'm like, oh, I can't believe I didn't think about that. I used hot glue, which by the time you get everything on and it bakes, the hot glue, of course, inside melts. But because of the baked situation, you see that the wings don't move at all. I mean, this thing is pretty stiff. There's a tiny bit of flex, which is what's supposed to happen. But for the most part, he is pretty, done. The only thing are these very fragile little finger nails, that he has, and laying him, because they always have to lay on the nails. There's no way to lay this guy well. So I have this for our wizard. There's an attachment here for this part of the wing that we're going to use to attach to the castle. I figured, we're going to need some attachment points. One for his foot, and we did have a crazy glue incident with one of his little nails, and then one on this foot. So we have 3 attachment points. Here's where our wires come out of his belly. I'll do that for you guys to see. We have wires coming out of his belly, and right over here, let's see, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking myself, but a piece of foil. I did not get his whole pedunkadunk. There is a piece of foil showing right there. So we could probably slap some black paint on. But you can definitely see the areas which, when this thing was on the piece of wood, were visible. They're done in a lot more detail. And then the areas that, well, were not so visible and difficult to access, like his chest here. You can see I used paint to create some detail just to kind of hide it. But yeah, there's not much detail there. There's not much detail on his neck. You can see where the globs of clay were meshed together but never fully blended because I didn't have access. So I thought that by putting just, tossing on some color, kind of like splotching on our lighter gray, just to kind of make it look somewhat match, it's good enough. No one's going to be able to see it anyways. So let's move on to strategy, guys. Strategy. And I did have one of my little friend sitting here with us. I don't know where he went off to, but if I see him, somewhere in the shop, I'll grab him. So let me try and figure out how I lay this down, and I'm going to lay him down here. And the most challenging part, I always say, well, this is the hardest part, and the next stream, no, guys, no, this is the hardest part. I mean it. But so far, Frozen Mustache is saying that is so amazing, totally worth, best dragon ever. All right, so you guys are like, listen, we don't mind the extra streams. It came out looking really, really well. I think so too. I think the paint job really, brought out a lot of the different details that we were going for, and I am just trying to figure out how to put them down. I think this wing has to rest like that, and then he kind of lays down for a nap. There, I got the crazy glue close by, in case we have any more casualties. So here's what we got going on, and we have to figure out some kind of base situation for this. So if we all recall, the electronics, my idea was to try and hide it in this tower because I didn't want some accessory box to be, close by. But because of this dragon, when we decided to do it out of clay, the second I put him here on the back, this thing is just going to go pew and just fall forward, hence why I had this type of situation where this supported the dragon so it couldn't fall back. So I'm like, okay, we're going to need some kind of extra base for this. So this is going to be a very like earthy looking wizard in the fantasy woods type of thing. So this is where I'm going to be watching chat tonight because we're going to have to figure this one out together. I kind of have an idea of, I think, what would work, but definitely chime in, guys. So I went to Michael's and I thought, let's make our lives easier rather than building a custom base. And check out what I found. These wooden, with the bark still on, kind of display panels. So I have a thin, I would say that's about half-ish an inch, to 3/4 of an inch display panel there. And if we put the tower like this, pretty much kind of like I had going there, it'll kind of like naturally not fall over. And so we just have to find a way to attach the tower. And then inside the base here is where we're going to try and hide all the electronics. But I also got a backup, which I think is going to work better than this one. And it's this big old chonker right here. So one thing I like about it is that it is kind of heavier. It's got some heft. So that way, we're a little bit more protected. And so what we can do is, if the dragon is going to be on this side, put him kind of more forward here. And we'll cover it in flock. We can make like a cool little fantasy situation terrain going on here. We put the dragon on here and it still can't fall backwards. I think this will be enough, to hold it. So therein lies the situation. Like, we can't just hot glue this thing onto here and expect it not to start wanting to tilt. So I had all kinds of ideas. I figured, we can take a hole saw and drill a hole, not the entire diameter, but maybe something kind of like this, that we can still stuff things up in here, and use a dowel. Like, I even pulled this dowel, and maybe we could put the dowel inside like this, on the side, and use a screw and screw the dowel on that way, maybe something like that. But then the dowel takes up room. I'm like, I don't know about that. But I have this skinny dowel too. And I mean, it's got some, I think it'll be enough. And the new thought now is like, why don't we drill whatever dowel we decide to use, drill it through the base, so that way it'll actually go in like that. It'll touch the floor. And we can always be able to remove the castle. So with this thickness, will it be enough to kind of hold the castle? And we can somewhere in here maybe use a clamp to clamp it, to the castle structure. So we can either put this inside so it hugs the wall like that, and obviously cut it somewhere in here, and use some kind of clamp situation to clamp it on, but not glue it on the bottom. So that way we can always go book and be able to like look inside and fix electronics. That may allow us not to have to drill a hole with a hole saw through this, but it might also be advantageous to drill with a hole saw through this, so you can just fix it. But there's going to be a dragon on here and all kinds of stuff, so I don't know how easy it'll be to just flip this over. So I was thinking with our dowel idea, we'll be able to just pull it. We can also put two dowels, one on each side, because this one is so skinny, and put matching holes, and then be able to pull the castle off and fix any type of like problems that we have, although it'll still have a big old dragon attached to it. So those are the ideas. Me personally, I'm leaning towards using this bigger chonker right here with the smaller dowel, and use two of them, one on either side of the castle. And I have the little band clamps that Merlin was talking about, and I have really tiny sizes that we can use to secure, our dowel. Now the dowels can be either on the inside. We can also, like, if I cut a notch inside this, foam, it could also live on the outside, and we can, clamp it there and cover it in stone. I don't think anyone will know what the deal is. The other idea I had too is to use part of this dowel as support structures. If you think about it, the dragon has just landed on this poor tower, and the tower's like, oh my gosh, and so maybe this is a recurring incident, and so we can put some like fake support beams to make it look like, the castle has been repaired before because of this dragon situation. So those are the ideas. If you guys want to chime in which way you think we should go to get this thing to be pretty sturdy. Let's see here. I have this hole saw, which is good for this size dowel. And because with this size too, we can also drill all the way through and have him on the outside. I keep hitting the mic, so I know you guys are like, oh, and maybe have it only go up to here on the outside, so it's something that the dragon can kind of be perched on. Maybe we can even position it, in accordance with one of its feet or something like that. So I think the first thing I was going to do is just get the dragon on here to figure out if he even fits on this. Or I guess we can kind of test fit him and then get this situated and then put the dragon on for real. So those are the ideas. And let me put this aside and let's see how this dragon fits. Like, how much did he shift? I know he shifted a bit, because I know that I couldn't get the shape of the two 2x4s quite right. And I had to kind of, spread the dragon a little bit wider in order to get him to fit. So let's see. So I already see one of you guys with ideas. I'll read it as soon as I figure out this dragon situation. So here is his perch. Oh no, he's gonna go on this side. I'm like standing up for this. So the dragon is gonna go on here. So I'm gonna face him towards me just to kind of prevent disaster. One of the things I'm thinking is we might have to lose this hut, but not really lose it, maybe replace it, just kind of put it elsewhere. So here I am, I'm wrapping the tail around. Guys, this might actually work. So here's his foot, and his foot was supposed to be going through our, like our little roof here. I mean, it's kind of facing the wrong way, but I think we can work it. We can work it. And this wire here, I can almost put it through an existing window because no one will really see back here. So I can put this through this existing window and kind of clamp him on like that. Something like that. But let me unclamp him. see, where shall I move him to make him look good? Let me do it this way. That way. So we may have to, I'll crumble the roof on this guy right here, because if I built the roof up, it's going to obstruct the view of this most awesome dragon. And I'm just twisting him around to find out what position looks cool. So I'm using this door right here as the actual front of the place. So I'm trying to, you know, get that. Oop, there we go. Let's get that right. And see, I think he's too hidden here, his head. You can barely see his head. So I'm going to go twisting him around. Like that's kind of nice. That's a nice like peekaboo type of situation. Or like that. Oh, he's getting stuck. Do that. It's going to have to be a little higher. So I don't know, guys. I'm kind of liking this type of position, which means we may want to move this hut. Although one cool thing about this hut is that we can crumble the roof and put LEDs like the roof is on fire, because he is just blasted a fire stream right through the roof and onto the wizard. And that means our wizard would be floating here in front of the castle and in front of our globe, which is sitting up here. So that might be kind of a neat position. And so we'll remember his head is like peeking right over this, this hut there. I think that's looking pretty good. So, all right, he does fit. We're going to have to, perhaps make some modifications in order to get, the wiring to fit right. But one of his feet exactly touches the tower. His wing nubbin, his elbow, exactly touches the tower where it needs to attach. So the only thing that's free floating is this foot, back here, which I'm sure we can figure that out. All right, so I'm going to put him down to sleep. Oh, nap time for our dragon. Let's see, head him like this. There, nap time for the dragon. And I'll kind of move him out of frame. Well, not exactly out of frame. All right, so some of you guys had ideas, and it looks like Dave is saying maybe 2 or 3 screws at a 45-degree angles from the top through the castle floor. And then hide the screws with some boulders that slide over the head of the screws. Looks best, when the head is over the hut towards the front door where the wizard just came out of. Yes, I concur. I think like if we can just right, kind of in this type of area. And the wizard came out and he floated up to battle this dragon. So we have a lot of our scene going on right here in front of the castle, where originally I was going to have the scene kind of going off to the side, but I kind of like the replacements of the scene. So let me see if I understand what Dave is saying. Maybe 2 or 3 screws at a 45-degree angle from the top through the castle floor. So through the castle floor down here. So I imagine the screw, although you're saying from the top, is not going to go from this top. It's going to go from, coming in through here and at a 45-degree angle right into our wooden base. So maybe like a 3-inch screw, something like that, a really long screw that just goes in and keeps the castle from rocking. In that case, we might do like 1, 2, 3, just to really anchor it, really, really well. So that's an idea that we could totally try. Let's see what kind of length screws I got going on right here, conveniently, because that thought had crossed my mind as well. And we'd be able to unscrew it, anytime we want. So for fixing things. So if that's exactly what you meant, we'll proceed. We'll try that one. And then maybe build up the right foot being pulled off by the dragon. Yep, we can definitely do that, because that's the foot that's kind of like, it got, bent during the sculpt. And there was no reference hut for me to make the foot. So let's see what I got here. I probably should lose this foam situation here, or go right through the foam, and it'll probably countersink inside the foam. So So David is confirming we are on the same page with the screws. So I'm thinking I'm going to go in at a 45-degree angle, maybe right here where the foam meets the, the PVC pipe. It'll be pretty hidden that way, and I can put foam around it. And because there's a big old dragon here, ain't no one gonna see any type of screw. So I'm going to unpackage the big chonker if you guys like that one the best. So something like this runs about 16 bucks, and something like this runs about 12 bucks, not too much of a price difference, but I think something like this is going to be more versatile, because should it happen down the line that it turns out we can't really fit all the electronics in here, it's too squishy, we can always use a router or a Dremel to Dremel out a little panel underneath and hide all the electronics that way. And then there's another problem I ran into, which I'm going to need your guys' brain for. So we'll get there, though. We'll get there. It's too hard to explain without visuals. So, all right. So yes, Dave also likes the big honker. He calls it honker. I call it chonker. So we're covering all of our bases. So let's get this going. Now, the other thing is, what do we think about using a hole saw in order to have access from the bottom of this thing to our electronics? That way we don't have to keep unscrewing and screwing it. We can just delicately, maybe this is a 2-person job, go like this and be able to put our electronics. I'm kind of thinking that might be a good idea to have like an access point so we don't eventually start to butcher our foam, all of our foam creations. And I'm like in blurry vision right now because this thing is like loving this castle. There we go. We can share the focus. All right. All right. So try that. And we can see that it is slightly oblong. It's, maybe slightly oblong like this. And so we'll try and put the castle as much towards the front as possible. So we'll do something like that. And this is all going to be covered in, in flock and things like that. So I'm not worried about Sharpie or marks or anything on this. Although the natural wood looks kind of nice too. I don't know, maybe we should, try and preserve it as much as possible. So I'm thinking if we put this as much to the front as possible, like that. Let me get the little door facing the right way. So we have all this room to kind of counteract our dragon. And we can build kind of ruins. We can build some like very cool things. We can even build crystals we can like mold them or make them out of hot glue. I've seen people take a bunch of hot glue, mold it, and then you use like a hot knife to cut like cool crystals that you put LEDs in. So we can make like flickering blue LED crystals around this or something like that for extra lighting. So program is here. Hello, y'all. Happy Friday evening. So we always enjoy programs weather pictures on Discord. So if you're not on Discord yet, there's a couple stragglers, you guys, that are not on Discord. Please do join because there's some very cool project ideas and programs, pictures, and Dave has posted a lot of his projects. Larry has as well. So this is where we are, program. We're making the base for our dragon plasma ball. So the only question left unanswered is if we should use a hole saw to make a hole not as wide as our PVC pipe, but slightly smaller diameter, so this doesn't fall through. And then we'd have a spot to access our electronics. The only thing there is putting these at a 45-degree angle, we might actually need that wood space. If we carve a hole, this might just kind of go through the hole. So let's just try this first. We can always unscrew it. So let me grab my, enough stalling, can you tell that I'm kind of weird about this? Yeah, I'm stalling. So let's put in a little guide hole at first, just through the PVC. And let's see, something like this. Let's see. Something like this might work. All right. And put my eyeballs on. I'll be like drilling up through here. All right, so I'm liking this. And all I'm gonna do is just do a starter hole. Actually, his door is gonna be a little bit crooked. That way, this is totally in line. I'm gonna scooch it forward a bit. All right, guys, I think I like that. I think I like it. Here we go. Whoop. I'm actually gonna go in like this just to start the hole. Now, I am totally not at all worried about this foam right here. This, we're gonna put more foam on top of it, so don't worry about it looking funky or getting shredded or anything like that. It was actually kind of premature of me to put this foam around here, so it's okay if it gets ripped off. So today's objective is to find a way to anchor this, get the dragon situated, and then come up with a strategy for the wizard dragon battle, because you're going to see kind of something I didn't think about, ahead of time. We're going to have to try and figure out. And a program is saying, no weariness, like our man says, if there are any only happy mistakes. That is so true. So that is not exactly 45. So we're going to have to angle this. Something like that, right, guys? That looks pretty good. Let's go for it. I'm doing this with my left hand, which is, a bunch of wires. I'm just going to peep in here, make sure I don't sacrifice our wires. All right, so what I'm noticing is that it's not even barely in there. See, it made like a tiny little thing. And, didn't quite hug it the way we needed to. So if I angle it more than a 45, like almost like a straight on down, it might work a little bit better. So trial number 2. I'm just helping push it out because it's just spinning in place. There we go. Because you see that the first part of it is smooth. There's no threads. And so it was just spinning in place. I had to get it to the threaded portion. All right, so let's try this again. And we're going to go way steeper than a 95 or a 45. 95? What are you talking about? All right. And Frozen Mustache does have an idea. I'm probably going to have to go closer to the bottom. Just after saying this doesn't matter, I sat there trying to salvage it. So probably not going to be salvaged. So let's realign here. Here's the back of our thing, and it's lined up with the back of our panel here. Looking good. All right, yeah. And I am just going to go right in through here, really. There we go, guys. I'm thinking that'll be good. Whoop. Oh, I probably need to put a little guide hole because it's dancing. Dancing. All right, so it's going to come out right about here. And if I do this, then I may be able to cut a hole on the base to be able to fit our electronics, because we're putting the screw so low. And maybe I should do this. Let me cut a relief so we don't guess on our situation here. I have plenty of dollar store foam core board. And yeah, Dave said he was spitballing the 45. I got what you meant. Didn't have to exactly be 45, but an angled drill. An angled screw. I got it. Dave's a little nervous. He's like, you might want to pull those wires out the top of the tower. Secretly, I don't blame him. I probably should. It's like a spelling disaster. All right, this will at least help me see what I'm doing. And yes, it was a bit premature. I was like, let's start foaming this up, you know, because I didn't think the dragon was going to be a big deal. But the other thing I noticed, guys, isn't the dragon like the size of the tower? Oops. This poor midget tower. This is a tiny, tiny little tower. All right, that's going to make our lives a ton easier. So I will, step 1, pull the wires up. There we go. And let's try this again. And let me line him up and drill a starter hole for our screw. So it doesn't dance around as much on me. Yeah, this will have to go. All right. That'll be enough. Program thinks the coloring on the dragon is super cool. Yeah? Well, we all picked it out, so I would think so. Of course we all think it's cool. So it was our idea. We wanted red and some kind of bluish icy tones as well, which we accomplished, I think, with the gray. All right, so I'm going to do this on my tilt. Something like that, right, guys? Here we go. Getting it started is the worst part. Maybe too much tilt. Too much tilt. All right, yeah. Final check. All right, not enough tilt. It was just going through the casing of the PVC and not actually through. So let's try that again. Go like this. This is kind of a two-person type of situation, but we'll make it work. Oh, wrong way. There we go. There. Took a while. All right. So, that's pretty darn sturdy. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of not thinking this idea was going to be like, it was gonna work, but I didn't think it was gonna be this sturdy. That's pretty good. I think if we put in, just for real sturdiness' sake, if we put another one going through here and here, 3 of them, I think will be pretty good. Actually, one in the front, because it's going to want to rip and pull this way. So if we have one holding here, it'll help even better. So, I mean, it might only need 2 of them. So let's do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and rip our situation here that I prematurely did. And let's see, give you guys a better view of what I'm doing here. And I'll crawl around. I'll kind of make it in line with the castle. I really like this. Sometimes rather than shopping online, I just like to go to the store because you get all these ideas. Even just walking through a Home Depot or a Lowe's, this thing keeps wanting them. You're like, oh yeah, look at this clamp. I wouldn't think to even like look for it online, you know, until you just walk through and you're like, I could use this for something. I can use that for something. The one time I hot glue gunned everything really, really well. I know this looks a little murderous. After all, it's almost Halloween. Gotta rock my Chucky craft knife technique. There we go. Pulled it off in one giant chunk. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing because it kind of helped me out the last time. And just do a pilot hole. Too much. All right. So program is thinking, yep, sounds solid. All right, pardon me, dragon. Let's see, I had this about up like that. All right. All right. So this is pretty cool. Like, I figured the screws would work. I honestly didn't think they would be very, like, I thought there was going to be a lot more wiggle than there is. So, happy discovery there. And that's one of your guys' ideas. I was over-engineering. We're going to use this dowel, and then we're going to put another dowel, and we're going to drill 50 holes to hold the dowel. And then, yeah, guys, that's what we're doing. Yeah, don't let Rachel plan stuff. My head was like hitting the mic, so you guys are like, thunk, thunk. Oh my gosh. All right, so that is in there, nice and pretty. And let's try the wiggle test. Yeah, that is like not even side to side. That is serious. Yeah, and guys, because I made the top removable, we can slip the stuff all down here, and instead it might be easier to put the electronics kind of up here. Right, I was thinking the base, you know, but I'm thinking probably up here is a little bit easier for us. Yep, and we can anchor where this hut is right here. We can put the ignition coil right back here. Remember, it's like a tiny ATV one. So I tested it out. I made sure it fit in this thing, and we can use like 2 bolts to bolt it here. Now, one thing I may have to do is just unglue as a whole structure and pop this guy off just to bolt our ignition coil, and then put him, you know, re-glue him back on. So he might have to come off and on as a structure, but we'll get to that part, you know, when we get to it. Sorry about that, guys. Let me kind of like move this out of the way so I don't keep hitting it. Dave is saying, I do the same thing, walk through the stores. However, I usually end up with half the store in my chase truck. Yeah, that's the only problem, because you're like there, it's convenient. You're like, while I'm here, you don't really need the stuff, but you're like, you know, for a future project, you might just need the stuff. You know, you never know. So you want to definitely, you know, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. All right, so let's now try and get this stinking dragon on here. So I'm going to just kind of tuck these, you know, back in, try and get our dragon back. And we may be able to put the ignition coil without, you know, much hassle, but that's always an option, like a last minute option, like, oh, that's going to have to come off. So for the next stream, we are probably a good idea to get all the electronics in place. So let's do that the next stream, and then put the foam, you know, in case we do have to remove this. If we have all this pretty foam, it's just going to damage everything. So I think that's probably a good next step. And not all these steps are mapped out, you know, from the beginning, because most of these projects, heck, I've never done. I've done separately, like painting things, PVC projects, woodworking projects, but we're putting them all together, you know, so sometimes you don't quite know the order of things. So let me bust out the drill again. I prematurely put it away because we're going to drill some holes to be able to put these wires where our dragon is. So now that his back is facing here, let's try and position him like we saw and that we liked. But before we do that, let me describe to you guys my problem so you guys can put your thinking caps on. And this may not be resolved today. This might be like a hop on Discord, discuss, post up pictures, and get a couple ideas. But let me do this for you guys to see, and I'm going to take myself away. So we got how we're going to light the eyes for our dragon, and the eyes are going to be lit through these 2 little wires, which we're going to hide in the hut, and it's going to go through the castle, and we're going to, you know, we're going to hide them. So problem solved there. Okay, so the real problem is this. here's my idea. So, pretend this is longer because I think it's going to have to be longer. But for the purposes of this discussion, we're going to string this with a whole bunch of flickering LEDs. And it's going to start going from amber. And then at one point in the middle, it's going to switch over to flickering blue. And we'll create an explosion kind of in the middle here with cotton, hot glue to make it look like fire. And, the cotton can be kind of coming from the wizard. So all those wires, this end of this wire, whether it stays this length or not, is going to be attached to our wizard. And that's what's going to use to make the wizard look like he's floating off the ground. But how are we going to power all this? The dragon is made. We could run the wires like along his belly, but you are going to see the wires on the side of his face. There's just like no hiding it, That's one thing we didn't think about is like pre-running a whole bunch of wires inside the clay to go along with his foot. Whoops, The other one is to, as you lay the LEDs, start to put them in series really quickly so you don't get bunches of wire. And that way you only have one positive and one negative coming from the bottom of the wizard. Maybe there's a way to drill a hole through the wizard or put hair on him or put like a robe on him, like maybe a big long robe that goes to the floor. And that disguises these two wires that are somehow maybe going to go through the base, through a channel at the bottom that we can make with a Dremel, and then up the tower where it can get power. And we can make like a 1/2-inch hole, like a very, little hole or whatever that we can use to reconnect this to the electronics. So that's the problem, the riddle that we must solve is how are we going to hide the wires that power this effect? Option one is to run it alongside the dragon, which is totally going to be visible, no real way to hide it. But, it is what it is. The effect will still be cool. Or try and run the wires backwards, put the first LED here and then run it down through the wizard, combining all the wires such that you only have one positive, one negative coming through the bottom of the wizard, and we can hide it like maybe it's vines, hanging off his feet, or we'll find a way to disguise it, but we can even run it under terrain, just it doesn't have to go through the base. It can go through just the surface, which is so much easier. Here I am over engineering again. It'll just go on the surface. We'll hide it with like flock and rocks and stuff and make it back to the tower where it's going to receive power. So that is the riddle for you guys. And I will allow you to, think about that. On Discord until we next meet, because we're going to be wiring up that effect along with doing some more electronics work to this thing and getting the electronics buttoned up so we can do our final painting and reveal. We're finally going to have a plasma lamp. This is super exciting, guys. I'm excited. And then first of all, I didn't even know that the plasma thing, would work. Like theoretically, I'm like, this should work, and I'm so glad it did, because then we got a dragon out of it. We're going to get a wizard out of it, and we're going to get a cool like battle scene that we're going to try out of it. So lots of free bonuses in this project. All right. And program is saying, I gotta be diligent when shopping out there. Oh yeah, you gotta be like, I came in for this, run once you have it, and put like blinders on so you don't see anything else. Yeah, I know that feeling. All right, I'm gonna kind of get these out of the way, and we're gonna try and put our dragon on here. And I'm gonna stand for this, and let me grab a Sharpie so we can figure out where we need to put our holes. And luckily, he's not that fragile. He's mostly fragile in the skinny parts, like his legs, because it's so heavy, and his spines. So, I'm gonna get him positioned. I'm like using my pinky to try and grab him. And it's funny, when I was painting him, he's actually pretty heavy. I'm gonna bring this towards you guys so I don't have to lean over. So we got his head over on this side where you guys can't really see, but the first anchor point is this wing situation, this like knuckle here behind this foot, which is kind of tough to see. So you have to like look past that where this back wire is here. And we're going to put him down here Now, in order to have his head over the other hut, his foot is like really far away from the castle. He was more designed to be kind of like that, which means, there we go. And again, we can move this hut, but if his foot, there we go. If his foot is like on this hut, peeping around, that's pretty good. Because before we kind of had him like that, but then there's no real good way to anchor his foot. So if we do this, that's pretty good. And if we raise him a little bit, because that allows me to cheat. And yes, I'm liking the cheating method. So what I'm going to do is take this wire and stick it through a window. This window looks pretty good here. And hang him there for now. I just have him drooped over. And we are going to need some screws for his back foot here. So I'm going to turn him around. We got him hanging on by the wing. And this foot back here, which is impossible to see. That guy right here. We're going to drill a hole. He's got a hook, like a loop on his foot. And we're going to loop him right here. So let me mark it with a Sharpie. If I can get the Sharpie in there. Oh no. The wire is not strong enough. There we go. There. Once we get him looped a little bit better, he'll stay. That's looking pretty good. And this angle is like weird unless you look at it from the front. Then it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. So I'm just going to raise him just a little bit more, and there's like no place to grab him. And I'll give you guys this view right here because you can see what I'm doing here. I'm using this window. Let's raise him just a little bit more. There. There, much better. Now, let's get his foot situated right there. Oh. There we go. I marked his foot. And we need a better solution for this, but I'm turning it around. I'm cheating. Turning it around for myself. All right. So that works. Just want to hook him here. Oh, he tore a little bit, his little arm, because he is pretty heavy. So I'm wondering, because of his weight, I may have to hot glue portions of him. I'm just testing different windows. I think this window is the better one. I'm like real quiet because this is like a bit of a balancing act. Trying to get them to peekaboo just right on our tower here. Take a couple trial and errors. And he did kind of, see if I can turn him around for you right there. See? Little bit of a tear. But we'll fix that as soon as we have him on so we don't have to, we don't keep re-injuring him. Which was somewhat expected. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is instead of using the window here, I'm going to position him like that. All right, so I marked where we're going to drill this guy. And then we will super glue him together. Actually, I'll do that now. So the super glue can go drying. Here, put him in the repair station right here. Little dragon hospital. Hold him together. Dragon ER is what this is. Now I'm going to assume the super glue pretty much bonds anything. This is no different. I think I stretched him when I tried to anchor his foot. I stretched him a little beyond the clay's stretching capabilities, especially with such a heavy wing. Also, I've never really seen dragons in this position, you know, so perhaps there's a reason why that's the case. And Dave was like, oh, you struggling? Split the difference on the dragon around the corner. Yeah, around the tower. Yeah, that's, I think, what we're going to do. And Dave is saying acrylic tube under the wizard, the wires in the tube, then paint the tube as vines. That's a good idea. Yeah, we can do that. Dragon ER. Yep, that's exactly what this is. All right, let's see. So I got one side of him done. Let me try and flip him. And we might have to ER his wing again. I'm not going to say that this is the final ERing. All right. Where did it split? Right there. So this super glue is a gel super glue, which has become my favorite super glue. Because you know the super glue, how runny they are, and then they like run all over the place and on your fingers all the time, and then you are glued to your object. I find myself glued to many things when I use super glue, so I really like this one because it's a gel, so it stays put. I discovered it, and I was like, oh, you are never leaving my side. All right. So you know how I say, like, I try and avoid the parts where you guys watch paint and glue dry? Well, not always avoidable. All right. Oh, that's looking pretty good. But in the meantime, let's see if I can put them down and we can get some holes drilled. Some holes. To support the wing. All right, Dragon ER is complete. All right. So let's drill up our holes where we're going to put our screws. And let's see, what screws will I use? I think I'll use the same ones that were holding him on this little guy here because they're short and they have big old heads. So I think that'll work for us. Oh, there we go. I'm like, where are my drill bits at? Where are my drill bits at? All right, so let's see. I'll just grab one here. Untwist you and untwist you down here. There we go. So I got these two guys. I say they're about this. Yep, to get them started. All right, so we have a hole here. And then we have one here. And let's get him all in there, if he's dry enough. So one of the things we may have to do is add a few more anchor points to this dragon, only because he is so darn heavy. And what's holding his weight are his little feet. Although that was the case when he was in the tower, so he should hold. Although he did have a few more wires holding him together. All right. Let's see if we can perform the surgical transfer. Yeah, that's mostly glued on. I can do another surgery if we find we need to. All right. So we're going to split the difference with him. And let me get ready. And where are the two screws? Okay. Put them right in front of you guys. All right. So I have a better idea. I need to make a loop. So we're going to put the dragon on. No, we're not. We're going to take him off. We're going to put the dragon on. No, we're not. We're going to take him off. All right. I promise this time, guys. So what I'm going to do is pre-position our screw on here just to make my life easier. And we're going to wrap the wire around the screw. The other one's already in a hook form, so I think we're good there. But the one on the wing is not. So careful. So we don't need any more dragon ERs. I'm just going to back the screw a tiny bit. Back it off. Actually, while holding the dragon, might be a better view. So I'm working like right here, getting this knuckle. And I'm wrapping the wire around the screw one time in order to get it to hold the position. And I'm going to go on the other side of the wing. This is all working like blind. It's like if you can just like not see what you're doing, that'd be great. Then you are ready for this project. Maybe I'll start it like this. All right, what are you getting stuck on? He is in awkward position. Remember, whose idea was it to do like, we're gonna have one wing outstretched and then the other wing is gonna be like in this cool folded position. Like, seriously, guys, slap me. Stop me from doing that kind of stuff. You know, I know this is like the first dragon I've made and all, guys, but you know, we're gonna do this like really complex position. How bad could it be? How bad could it possibly be? We'll be good, guys. And then several ER trips later for this poor dragon, the dragon is like, guys, please, please help me out in chat here, guys. Just tell this chick to stop. Just tell her to stop. There we go. So we got a wing, and while holding him, because the wing is, there we go. And where the other screw at? Where the other screw at? There it is. Now I'm doing his foot, which there's no real good way for you guys to see this one. Kind of. Oh, he lost his nail again. I had super glued his nail back on, but he lost it. We'll super glue it. But first, let's get his foot. And once I have everything attached, I'll show you guys what I did. This atrocity. And then you guys can like feel sorry for the dragon. Like, we know what it's like. We watch her every week. Where is the hole? There. I'm like working under his wing, and it's pretty impossible. Let me see if I can get a little baby screwdriver up in here, or stop being idiotic about it and put the screw in first. All right, here we go. So I know you guys can see like absolutely nothing, but the objective for me is to try and get a screw into this tiny little location that a drill or a screwdriver will not fit in. So what I may have to do is make a bigger hole so the screw just kind of threads in by hand. But I'm going to try one more attempt. To thread this thing. Yes, so let me remove him. Not what you guys wanted to hear, I know, but it's kind of impossible to get him to stay. Like holding him with one hand while trying to like anchor him with the other has been a bit impossible. All right, there we go. Let's try again. We shall succeed. All right, so I'm going to put this guy back on here, like that. We can wrap the wire, and now I'm going to do the same here. This is the one that I couldn't get this guy in here. All right, we're having a watch and paint dry moment here. Let's try this again. So we got 2 anchor points, and I'm going to face the dragon my way just to cheat. And this time, I wonder if it's worth it starting with the foot. I'm just unwinding the armature wire. Because when this dragon was put on our wooden block there, he had no clay. He didn't really have this wing. So I was able to do whatever I wanted. Not so much anymore. Now the dragon is like, screw you. There. Well, that's in. And now let's get this wing in. Look at all the action that you guys can totally not see, like at all. It's like stick the finger in this hole, stick the finger in here and here, trying to get this thing going. There. All right, so we got the wing down good. I'm going to tighten the heck out of it. There. So I'm just going to turn this around for you guys. Like that. And so he's in there. He's a little wobbly. So let's see if I can tighten this foot situation here. There we go. All right, this I thought was going to be a little bit easier than what is proving to be. I am not going to lie. This is tedious. Tedious. I'm going to make a pre-hook. Again, more amazing stuff that you can't even see. Ain't that awesome? All right. So, if I can somehow get to this and tighten it. All right, so he's almost there, but this foot back here, because of this wing, is impossible to get to that screw and tighten it the way it's supposed to be tightened. And we have another dragon ER situation. All right. So let me undo him again. And I have a better idea. Because at the end of the day, I think this is a two-person job, so this thing doesn't keep getting mangled. So let me remove him like that. And perform our dragon ER. So we got his little leg here. The super glue worked really, really well on his wing, so I'm hoping it works really well on his leg. So you can see his little leg here. It's very almost not visible, that little crack there. So yeah, it's just the weight of the dragon. And I think the big thing that we're missing is there was a rope right here that I cut from his wing that was holding his wing up, and providing additional support. So right now we have an anchor for the wing, but because of where it bends right here is a thin part. So it's kind of like a thin attachment. And of course his poor little leg is a thin attachment as well. So one thing I might do in order to help, stabilize him is use his stomach and maybe glue some foam on his stomach and then glue it to the castle. Like get him glued to the castle without the attachment points first along his belly. And then try and attach him via his attachment points, I think will be a lot easier because he supports himself. See, he's fine like this. So I think using the trunk of his body is a much smarter move than trying to re-anchor him to you know, similarly the way I had here, but we're missing a couple anchor points, you know, which will look ugly. You know, I don't want to put another wire coming up out of his wing and up and over his head the way we had. So I think that we're going to have to do that. And let me surgically do his foot. So let me put him down for some more Dragon ER. Hopefully we don't have too many more Dragon ERs, although he's a fighter. And let's see, where'd it go? So tough to see. Or, no, it's this leg. Wrong leg. Wrong leg. So far, he's kind of bent in places that are difficult to see, which makes sense because it's those very areas where it's almost impossible to get clay. So the clay was built up rather thinly in some of these areas. So that's why it's having trouble kind of holding on. But I think if we glue it to the castle by its belly, I think that we're going to have a much better plan. And we have, like, you know, a couple pieces floating around that we could try and at least get things kind of positioned and see what happens. I just think it's going to have to go that way. Longest stream where we see nothing ever, right? And Dave's saying, you won't die from a hangnail. Yes, I agree. You won't die. ER the dragon on the tower. Yeah, I don't know that I would have been able to get the thing in there. But yeah, that would have been the way to go. But I doubt I'd be able to get the glue gun, or not glue gun, the super glue back in there. And do you have a stubby Phillips screwdriver? The stubbiest that I have is this guy here. And even he won't fit. Oh, don't think I didn't think of using this guy. I'll keep him out, but he even didn't fit. So, but I think if we glue him to the tower, he'll be glued. We may not have to anchor the rest of him. I'll just anchor the wing so he doesn't, you know, tilt. And I think we should be good. So I say we do that first and see kind of where his belly touches on this tower. I'm really liking your guys' screw idea. You guys go, man. That's, you know, that probably would have been a whole stream itself, is watching Rachel struggle with dowels and trying to get the dowels to line up and all that. Another paint drying moment brought to you by Rachel. All right, so I'm just going to gently kind of put him on here facing you guys, and I'm just going to kind of peep with my eyes where we can put like a right on his chest, it looks like. Oh, wire, move out of the way. All right, so if he touches here, and I like his little, you know, his little tail there, and he's here, like literally right by the boob. We'll put a piece of foam on his boob, and he should be ready to go. Actually, no, his belly, because his chest is somewhat touching. So right here on his belly, and he should be good. All right, let's fire up the glue gun. What are you caught on? Now he attached himself. Now he's like, oh no. No, I'm good. Yeah, no, you're not. Come to me. Oh my god, this dragon. I could totally tell now why the wizard wants this thing dead. I want this thing dead. I get it now, and now I'm super glued to the dragon. All right, so I get it, wizard. I hear you. I hear you, wizard. This dragon is annoying. Let's just kill it. All right, so we're gonna put like a foam block right on its belly, right there. So let's get you fired up. And darn it, dragon, I'm over you. I'm over you. All right. Move things out of the way. You know what I need? I need one of those, and you know what? I think I have one that goes like this. And then you can you know, ratchet it from this side. That's probably what I'm going to have to go get. But despite that, we would still need to anchor him from the belly because the dragon is too heavy to be held up by like one tiny little foot or even 2 feet and where his wing bends. It's too many fragile points holding him together. So even if I were to, in the future, move the lamp around or say, you know, move it to another table, he was always going to constantly be wiggling, and eventually those clays were going to tear anyways. He's got an armature underneath, so it's not like his wing's going to fall off or anything, but we don't want him to continually just keep tearing and all that. So we'll prevent that. All right. How are we doing? Yeah, this stream has been a whole bunch of like watching a whole bunch of nothing, you know, Rachel working in her secret corner type of stream, and watching glue dry and super glue dry, and now watching hot glue guns just warm up. The riveting! I saved all the riveting parts for you guys. But I knew this portion was going to be difficult. I knew that getting the dragon off of that thing and on here was going to be tough. And that's one of the reasons I very strongly debated not ever removing the dragon at all. Like just keeping him on the base, removing this work that I had done as a whole. So it's still done. We can pop it back on, but removing it as a whole. So I'm doing some more Monday morning quarterbacking of myself, which is like very well deserved. And putting the PVC pipe in the oven. Now, it releases fumes that are probably not that great for you, you know, and which is why we didn't do it in the first place. But mayhaps if I opened all the windows, ran the air, and just like went nuts, you know, with ventilation, that probably would have been easier, you know. It didn't fit in the barbecue. We did have that idea. A program is saying, imagine doing a stop motion animation with this beast. Oh yeah, if he had articulated joints, that'd be very, very cool. Dave's saying, do you have a stubby Phillips screwdriver? Oh yes, we talked about that already. And I like the glue gun holder. So do I. So that's where one of my goodies went off to. I had him sitting here with me. But guys, check this out. So this glue gun thing, it's constantly falling. It's very old. It's just very old. And so check this 3D printed thing out. This is Dave. He's got an awesome 3D printer. And one of the things that I noticed with this, while this dumb glue thing here gets warm, I took it off the holder. Normally, sometimes with 3D printed pieces, you really see the striations. And that's probably not the technical term, you know, for the thing, striations. But I'm going to call it that. Here, it's barely visible. It prints so clean. And that's one thing I'm beginning to learn is 3D printing. I don't have one yet, but yes, I definitely want to get a printer. And the different filaments and how to get it to print so smoothly. Because I've seen things like on Etsy or even Thingiverse where it's just you see all the layers. It's very, very heavily layered. But this is pretty smooth and it's just the right size. So it's got this little cubby, which, you know, can be used like this or like this. I actually like this cubby because that's where I put the base of the gun. So I put the cubby right there and it holds it. See? Awesome. And it holds it high enough above the ground because one of the things that I end up doing is it pretty much touches the wood. So all the glue starts to attach to the wood, and then after every stream, I'm having to scrape glue off this thing, you know, after you guys are gone and then going to bed and stuff. So holding it higher, you already see the glue kind of start coming out there and it's ready to go. So this is courtesy of Dave, along with some other awesome 3D printed things that I'm going to show you guys on the Monday stream because they're very appropriate for the Monday stream. So thanks, Dave. Awesome, awesome stuff. Many, many goodies. And we got to do some stuff with this 3D printed stuff. Maybe like paint it. Wait till you see the ones on Monday. Very, very paint worthy. All right, so I set his stomach. And let that do its thing. This is do its thing there. And then we'll put some hot glue on here, and then I'll try and very quickly, you know, get them on here and see how well we do. So, and it sticks to things like that. So that's why the holder is awesome, but he is over there. So I'm just going to put you over here. All right, we're struggling this stream, people. We're struggling. Actually, you guys aren't struggling. I'm struggling. All right, so this is pretty good here. And let's see if we can, I'm going to forever have this thing on me here. There we go. Move the little 3D printed thing out of the way. Little glue gun holder. And so there's a site, if you guys haven't seen, you know, obviously Dave and Larry have been on there, but it's called Thingiverse. And so they already have files for all these really cool things that you can print. And I love it. It's awesome. So I'll look at the stuff and I'll be like, oh, if I had a 3D printer, I would print all this stuff, you know? But I'm looking at a few that I think will be really cool, that are, you know, somewhat easy to learn for beginners. All right. All right, people. Now we're going to watch Rachel hold the dragon and watch glue dry like we've been doing. Oh, guys. Hot glue does not stick to clay. He just popped right the heck off. That goes my idea. All right. So that's on there really, really nice, but the dragon is like, you're cute with your hot glue. No. All right. I could totally see. I'm on the wizard side now. When I first started this project, I thought maybe I'd be on the dragon side. I am totally 100% on the wizard's side. Yep. So let's see here. What other anchor points can we come up with for this thing now that he's being problematic? So hot glue don't work on you. You know what? Super glue probably does. Super glue has been working very, very nice on his belly. So let's see here. If we can super glue you together. Unless I have another idea too. But one thing we might have to do. All right. So I have an idea and I'll try and explain it to you guys. Probably with this view is the better view. All right. So this might, you know, have to be another Discord moment. And Dave Wells or Frozen Mustache is saying, yep, go for the super glue. So one idea too, if the super glue doesn't work, is simply to give him something to sit on. So if we have our piece like this, I'm going to gently kind of rock it here, is build a little ledge, you know, perhaps out of foam, where he can just sit on it. And that's going to help support a lot of the weight. And then simply just screw on the rest of the fragile elements, but at least he'll have something to like physically sit on. Rather than trying to suspend him from all these little, you know, weaker points. And that'll just alleviate a lot of the weight problem. And so what I was doing is trying to see if there was a way to get him, like where would be a good sitting, like on his butt. Let me do this. Trying to do this so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, so if he's coming over here, you see where his butt is? Right there. So that's kind of a nice flat part. So if I literally built like a ledge where he can just plop down like that, and then we anchor his foot and we anchor his wing and super glue him to this base rather than trying to super glue him to, from such a tiny spot on his belly, that might be a much better way to go. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Yeah, I'm liking Program's idea. He's saying Rachel just loses it. Throws the dragon. We've lost the patient. Oh, we're about to lose this patient here pretty quick. I don't care. It took me like, 2 months, to put them together. I'm about to lose them. Oh, yes. My love is conditional. It's very conditional, all right? At this point, if you're misbehaving, I don't love you anymore, dragon. All right. So, yeah, because if we glue them to this small block, what I'm finding is that there's still a great deal of rock going on. So what we might do is do both. Super glue them to the block and then make a styrofoam, like out of my pink, really stiff styrofoam over there that we've used for many, many different things. And then make a seat for him where he'll sit down and then anchor the rest of the more fragile things. So I think, I don't know, I'm kind of like leaning towards that plan a little bit. That way he's pretty well supported. Because again, we want a situation where we can pick up the lamp and not have to worry that this is going to tear or that is going to tear, or constantly having to be gluing him back together again. So let's see if I can. He even needs a special patient bed, for God's sake. He's a bit of a high maintenance dragon. All right, so we've learned that the super glue does not work on the clay. It just popped right off. Works well on everything else, but the super glue does. So if you're ever in a situation where you're making your own clay sculpture, super glue the heck out of it. And Dave Beck is saying, I like your plan. Do all those things. Yes, I think that's going to give us enough anchor points where he's, like, I want him to be stiff on here. Just like your guys' screw idea made this, like, really nice and sturdy. Like, there is, like, no wiggle on this thing, which is, like, I knew it would anchor, but I thought for sure there'll be a little bit of wiggle with just like 1 or 2 screws going in. But no, you guys like nailed this thing, quite literally. Or I guess would be screwed the heck out of this thing, quite literally there. So that worked out really well. My original plan for getting the dragon back, because I thought I would just anchor him similarly to how we had here, minus, 1 or 2 anchor points. And those anchor points turned out to be very important because now he's trying to hang on by his weakest points, which is not working. So because the hot glue does not work on the clay, we're going to super glue his belly here. I'm going to make a seat. Look at how high maintenance this guy is. It's like, I'm attacking this castle. I need the plasma ball. But I'm so tired. Maybe he's an old dragon. Like, can you just give me a seat? Let's just like fight sitting, just fight sitting. So he's not very, energetic in that way, but we'll make him a little seat, and we'll make it look like crumbling rock. Like perhaps because he has landed on this side of the castle, we can start having like a pile of crumbly rocks that even goes all the way out to here. Because one of the things is if we have the dragon here and just like blank, that looks kind of lame, So if we have the dragon and it's crumbly rock and it kind of like crumbles out to here, he almost has like a hill to sit on. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that idea. And I think that'll work, but that's going to be for another stream because that's going to take quite a while to kind of build that. So I think for the next stream, I will have like a lot of that done and or work on the electronics, and then try and get the dragon on here once the electronics are done. Because now that we've gone through this dragon situation, it is clear that once the dragon is on here, our access to things is going to be like non-existent. So it may be that the dragon now is going to be the last thing that goes on here. We'll get all the crumbly, before paint, of course. We'll get all the crumbly rocks. We'll get everything base coated black and get the dragon on here. Because if I can't reach through the dragon and get the rocks painted, at least it's base coated black. Or at the very least, maybe get, everything kind of somewhat painted. So when we get the dragon on, we can kind of do our final painting and things and light this plasma ball. So yes, because I've never done this, I'm just trying to think of the order. And sometimes we got to take one step forward and many, many steps back before we can take another step forward. So yes, So Dave's saying, great idea for the crumbles. Yeah, like your little blue cheese crumbles coming all the way across. That's what it looks like once you kind of mince up this, this white foam. So we have a lot of rock carving now to do. Extra rock carving. But guys, thanks so much for joining on this stream. See, I would have been here all night trying to line up dowels, using the hole saw, which out of all the tools in the garage is like the tool I'm the worst at. Everybody has that one tool where it's like, it's not worth practicing. I'm just not going to be any good at it. It is the hole saw for me. That is my kryptonite. So whether it's today or hop on Discord, I'd love to know which is your guys' kryptonite tool, because everybody has one. And sometimes it's like the easiest tool for some people. And you're like, why is that your kryptonite? But yeah, I've gotten that with the hole saw. It's like, it's not that hard. And I'm like, yeah, no, it just hates me. The hole saw just hates me. So guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was one of them struggle streams. Oh yeah, a struggle stream. And program is saying, glad to have caught y'all L8s from Dago. And Frozen Mustache is saying, thanks for the great stream. All right, so you guys are troopers. You guys hung in there during the struggle. So I will catch you guys back on Monday. But of course, we have to hustle on this spider. Like, the hustle is on for reals. So you know what that means. A behind the scenes stream, ooh, say that again, I dare not, is gonna definitely happen between now and Monday. So check Discord for when that goes up. Sometimes I post on social media, but most of the time Discord is like the way to know everything that's kind of going on behind the scenes. So I will definitely need your help during that stream as well, because we got a ton to do to get this spider ready for the big debut on Monday. And I'm trying to debate, who should we test it on? Vote, dogs or cats? Which one should we test this thing on? Clearly I tested it on myself last stream. So guys, for the a million times, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And thank you guys so much for your support, because that's how we're getting all this thing done. We're learning new skills. I am learning new skills. I'm hoping that you guys are learning stuff, watching me flop around sometimes. So guys, have a great night and a great upcoming weekend. And I'm gonna be working. Hopefully you guys will join me. Catch you guys. See ya.